And we are moments away from the start of the girls' competition. 20 of the best teams in the country on the line. We are off the 2006 Nike Team Nationals. And Rich, right off the top, let's talk about how the teams were selected to come to this big competition.
We do have 8 regions from around the country. Teams were basically ranked weekly. The top 2 teams from each region would qualify automatically, and from there the field was filled out using at-larges. Criteria was based on, for the most part, late season performance, head-to-head performance, and basically the trend going as we move on the season. Major victories.
Okay, great. And Alan, let's talk about how we're timing and scoring this meet.
Well, the timing, almost every race has moved to electronic computer chip timing. So every athlete has a chip around their ankle. You'll notice the bands. The unique thing about this race is that we're going to get up to the second interval splits. So at 1K, 2K, 3K, and 4K, we'll get team competition updated scoring. So that's going to be the exciting part. We'll be able to see some of the teams moving up the board, some teams moving down the board. But then they're going to save it at the end. They're not going to tell us right at the finish who the champion is. They're going to compile the results, make sure everything's all squared away.
And then they're going to tell the top 4 teams randomly to come up to the stage, and then we'll go backwards like the Miss Universe pageant and third runner-up, second runner-up. And we are already underway. Every one of the teams has their own distinctive uniform and bib. And Rich, what have we learned in the first 2 years of NTN, which we can apply to today's competition? What have the kids learned about how to race something at the national level, not just the state level?
I think one of the most important things actually here is the course, how to race this course. It is so muddy that the worse the course is, the more important strategy is. What teams have learned here at this national level meet is very foreign to conditions. So teams have come out very fast and suffered in the latter stages of the race. I think the teams that have been here before are at a great advantage.
Well, we've seen in the past teams go out very, very hard and then pay that penalty late in the day.
Right.
So we have a couple of runners out very hard as it is right now. It's 271. That looks like Allison Sawyer. And Allison Sawyer from Hilton Cross Country, the defending champions, of course, is a big gun. She was 8th in this race last year. Is that 220? Is that 224? That number there?
Could be 224. Correct.
224. That's Tara Upshaw, sophomore out of Carroll Cross Country in South Lake, Texas. So 2 very respected programs as well, and I think we see experience being a main goal.
I think it's worth noting, Tony, also that now these teams have something beyond the state meet to shoot for. So now they're thinking 3 weeks beyond the state championship to say, hey, now we have the national championship, so that's going to change our training, it's going to change our mentality, knowing that we still have a few more weeks of hard work ahead of us. So the teams that do that well are the ones that are going to fare the best.
Allison Sawyer from Hilton Cross Country, the defending champions, taking it out hard. And of course, Hilton Cross Country was beaten at both the public school meet and the federation meet by Manlius Cross Country. So there's a lot of that. The teams that compete head-on against other nationally ranked teams, is that an advantage, Rich, or does that take something out of the kids?
In a sense, it's an advantage for those teams that are coming from off-kilter, in a sense, coming from behind. Manlius, we know about their boys program, but it was their girls that pulled off an upset at the state meet. People thought it was a fluke. At the federation meet, they showed again how strong they were. So we have a situation right now where we have Hilton from the Northeast trying to get them back, in a sense. But once again, experience in this course plays a very big role. Last year, Hilton came out very, very fast in this course. They were so strong, they were able to hold on. In year 1, we had York, who's just the opposite. Elmer's was just the opposite, where they came from behind on that last kilometer to pull in the win.
And right now, we can see that Hilton Cross Country, with 115 points after 1 kilometer, is in the lead. Westfield Cross Country, 144. Then Phoenix, Yankton, Manlius in 5th place. The girls from Fairbanks in 6th, Newport, going to Del Mar in 7th, Wilmington, Carroll Cross Country, and then Concord in 10th place.
So once again, 2nd year in a row, Hilton's trying to go out very hard in that first kilometer and trying to make these others trying to catch up in the slop.
But is that could be the siren call? That's the point. That could be a fool's game.
Right, that's very much so. But once again, this course takes a great deal out of you. So these kids that are in this slot for the first time from behind, it can be obviously very, very daunting for them. It can really wear you out. We had kids running earlier in the day in the number 8-man race and the open race, and they were talking about the footing here being very, very challenging, and they come across very tight at the end of their race.
Well, Westfield Cross Country out of Indiana, not one of the big favorites coming into the competition, but we've seen a lot of movement in the first 2 years from mid-race into the final kilometer as well. This race is not over even when they hit the 4-kilometer mark. It's that a lot of the girls running 4K for their state championships, not the 5K distance.
Right, that is very true. We have different states that have different race distances during the course of the year, even for their state meet as low as 2 miles. So for some of these girls, and for most of the runners that are competing here today, this will be their slowest time of the year. It's very much a very different challenge here, and we have coaches that are, I've admitted, they are using a different strategy compared to last year.
And once again, up on the board, Hilton Cross Country, Westfield Cross Country in second place with Allison Sawyer from Hilton. She was 8th place again in this competition last year, so she's got experience and she's got talent. And so she's no Johnny-come-lately, and if she gets out there in front, the odds are maybe she's not coming back.
That is very, very true. Once again, on this footing here, that's very true. The girls from Hilton are very much strength runners, so this is the course that suits basically their strength right here.
Well, most of the East Coast schools have, in the past, historically have done better here. They're used to tough conditions, they're used to harsh weather conditions, and they get in a course like this where it is slower, and they tend to run better.
Well, let's put it like this. Hilton returns 4 from their 05 National Championship squad. That's an enormous advantage, but they lost to Manlius at public schools in the Federation meet. They were 4 in the top 20 at NTN last year. So they were just, not only did they have fast up front, but they got great compression. Let's talk about the aspect of compression for this team championship.
Well, the thing that really differs in this meet from other meets, for a dual meet team, strength, a few good runners in front will help you out. Over at an event like a state championship, it's a case of having strong 4 and 5 runners. Your depth will carry you. But something like NTN, where all these teams have strong 4 and 5, every teammate counts, and that's a slogan for the meet, every single teammate, because there's so much position change in the last kilometer.
Well, just to let you know, last year, Ashley Jones, who's a junior this year, was the 5th scorer for Hilton, and she won the Nike Anchor Award as the first 5th place scorer.
Well, it shows how important that 5th place is. That's really the defining place. You can have top 4, but if your 5th runner isn't there, then it doesn't really matter.
And there's some of the hay bales these runners have to go over, and maybe the first time through, no problem. Second time, maybe you scrape just a little bit, and the third time, we're going to see some face plants. Allison Sawyer is putting ground on this field, and the condition of the course, I believe, from even yesterday, dried out a lot. It's a little bit more firm. It's still not a California fast course, but you know, Allison Sawyer looked like she's a mutter.
Right, very much so. At the start of the week, this was a very good condition for this course compared to the first 2 years. As we've gone on, especially yesterday in the course run-throughs, this course has been really, really chewed up. Well, once again, it's become definitely a strength course right here on race time.
Well, we're about 7 minutes and 30 seconds into it. The winning time usually around 18 minutes or so for the girls. And here are 2 Yankton girls with the red headbands, running right with one another, and that's Yankton, of course, is number 1 or 2 in the country, depending on which stat you look at. And they're a very powerful team, and it looks like everyone has sort of settled into their pace. Yankton was 5th in 04 and then 3rd in 05. Yankton, I now believe, has moved up into 4th place, so there is movement out there. Now moved up to 2nd place, as a matter of fact. And we're waiting for the 2K. We're looking for the 2K split to come in there. And it looks like Manlius Cross Country has moved into the lead with all 7 of their runners through the 2K split. Westfield Cross Country still in 2nd place with 6 runners through. Newport and then Yankton in 4th. Hilton has dropped down to 6th place with 226 points. So again, lots of movement. Allison Sawyer still running away with the competition individually, but it's Manlius, their big rivals, who have gone to the front. You know, Rich, I talked to Coach Bill Harris, who has been traditionally a great, strong men's team, but this year it really was the girls that took over in that program.
Right, very much so. They actually ran very well at the Manhattan Invitational. They had a key runner running the junior varsity race, so they were kind of still under the radar for some people. Once again, it was a state meet where they really came on.
Well, Manlius with 147 in first place, Westfield 172. And then Newport Cross Country. You know, the California teams, and Rich, you know the California squads better than anybody. You know, it's just, these are especially difficult conditions for the California runners. They're used to those very hard-packed courses. Difficult, certainly, like Mount Sac, but certainly nothing like the sloppier, the footing.
Right, very much so. And that condition is compounded by the fact that Southern Section teams, which is the strongest area of the state, those coaches are not allowed to coach the teams for this event. It's a non-sanctioned event, so in that sense, we have basically chaperones that are coaching them, and sometimes some of those strategies have backfired as far as race strategies. The exception has been in Northern California. Last year we had Carmichael High School, coached by the legendary Walt Lane. They actually came out and ran an excellent race strategy-wise, and they moved up and they passed many teams that were ranked well ahead of them.
Well, you can see we're halfway, and now we have girls going down on the hay bales. Things are going to start changing with every K. You can see with the team score that just in 1 kilometer, just over 3.5 minutes of running, a lot changes. So I think we're going to get see those team scores move around a little bit more.
You know, one of the other aspects that is interesting is that some teams are coming in fresh off state championships. Others, like Fairbanks Cross Country, it's been 7 weeks since they've run a meaningful competition. They might be strong, but they can't possibly be sharp.
Right, it's very difficult actually as far as being race sharp. Their season, actually, their state season was almost 10 weeks ago. Since then, they've traveled across state lines, come to the mainland, and actually sought out some post-state meet competitions to try and stay sharp, but it's been a while since then.
And then on the other side, the California kids have been banging heads right up until last weekend. The Foot Locker Regionals were last weekend for everyone but the California kids for the West region. So some kids, here's Westfield looking at our second place team right now. Margaret Bingham, number 337, a junior out of Westfield. And Westfield, in some ways, the surprise here right now. What'd you think, Rich?
Definitely so right now. They were on a team that was supposed to finish not in the top 8, and they're looking very good at this point in time.
And I noticed Betsy Bees has moved up into second place, who was our champion last year in the individual pursuit.
You know, once again, this is a strength over speed course, and so the kids who have experience, and then the ones that just have the confidence, and Ellen, that's the hard thing to do. This sport is so much about covering every move, and it's so difficult psychologically not to go.
Definitely. Well, and I think the kids that have been here before, all of a sudden, some of the nostalgia, some of the newness of it is worn off, whereas some kids are just, once they get here and they're involved with all the fun things going on, and Nike does such a great job of making them feel like world-class athletes, they kind of get the mentality of, well, we're just glad to be here. Where some of them say, hey, no, we've been here before, now we know what to expect, and now we're here to win.
The Greenbelt girls were exactly in that category. I had breakfast with a couple of the girls this morning, and they were saying, you know, last year we were overwhelmed. Like the first time you go to the Olympic Games, it's a little overwhelming. And this year, they're just a little bit more settled, and they're allowed to let their race come out of them. Here we are at the 3K split, and Newport has got 3 runners through. Now Westfield's got 4 through in first place. They were the first one with 4 through. Westfield doing the job today. And we're waiting for the second team with 4 to come through. Westfield's the only team with 4 through at the 3K level right now as we continue to look at Allison Sawyer. Looking strong, looking smooth. And Alan, she still looks very much in control.
She does. She looks really comfortable. I think she knows what she came here to do, and she looks like she's going to, at this point, she looks like she's put a good at 50 meters on second place.
Manlius now has maintains its lead with 143 points, so they've knocked 4 points, or added 4 points to their lead. Yankton now in second, but now Newport has moved into second. The Newport in second, but it's a 50-point lead for Manlius Cross Country. You know, Bill Harris, you know, Rich, he's always sort of underplaying his chances. He was talking about who the favorites were, and he never mentioned his girls. He just said quietly confident, I think we're ready for the best race of our year. And right now, they're doing it.
Definitely. At Manhattan, they had their first strong showing. I talked to him after his race over in New York, and he actually had a sparkle in his eye, and he said, we're on to something good here. We're on to something good.
So Manlius Cross Country out of upstate New York, and the Newport powerhouse out of California, and Westfield Cross Country continues to hold strong in third place, with Yankton in fourth, Holt Cross Country in fifth, Phoenix, Wilmington, then Greenbelt in eighth, Hilton Cross Country, the defending champions, in ninth, and Albuquerque in 10th place through 3 kilometers.
Well, it's good to see a California team up in there, so that maybe they're going to erase some of the past trends.
Bees, Betsy Bees, defending champion, now 6 seconds back. 6 seconds back of our longtime leader throughout the race, Allison Sawyer. There's Newport in the being passed.
It looked like a Yankton runner to me.
There's a Fairbanks team. There's Yankton. You know, Rich, and Manlius right there. Now, Rich, do the coaches tell the girls, this is the girl you've got to compete against?
You want to try and do that usually for a meet. On this particular meet, it's very difficult. The reason being is there's a lot of schools here that are wearing uniform colors that are very different from the traditional colors, so it's very hard to pick them out. And just to be quite honest also, when the uniforms are covered with mud, it's even harder to identify those teams.
Matt McCarron, who's helping us up here on the stage, is telling us that Newport has been moving up at every kilometer. And so that's, again, maybe they've been holding their fire, waiting for the final stages to make their big moves.
One of the neat things about the timing aspect is the coaches have all been provided with a Palm Pilot. So as we're seeing these results come up on the board here, they're getting them right instantaneously right in their hands, so they can follow what's going on, so they can yell to their athletes to say, hey, we need to pick off that Newport girl in front of you or whatever it is.
We've got a bit of a change in the scores now. We have Carroll actually moving into second here. So actually Carroll's in second, Newport now down to third.
Exactly. We have the current standings up on the board. Manlius in front, Carroll in second out of Texas, and then Newport, the California powerhouse, in third place. And I think a lot of people were rooting for one of the California teams. They've been so good over the years. The competition in the state is so strong and they've always had tough times here at Nike Team Nationals, and it's nice to see one of the teams now coming to the fore.
No, definitely. On that girls' side, they've taken their licks. Last year, Newport, which was Corona Del Mar High School, they actually were ranked #1 for a good part of the year nationally, and they came here and they took their licks. This year, they want to come in with a different game plan, be a bit more smarter in the slot, a bit more conservative.
We're looking at a Manlius runner right now.
Our leaders have just passed 4K, so we're going to be getting those splits just here momentarily.
Yeah, so the leaders, they've all gone through. And the Manlius, the first one with 2 through. So they've got a couple of girls in the top 10. And it's all about compression and because you can be 1 through 4. And there's Bees, now has gone in front of Sawyer. Betsy Bees.
Defending champion.
And she's moving very, very smoothly in front. She knows the course so well. We'll look for that second girl.
And Tony, right now Newport's the first team with 3 runners across that 4K split.
Bees has taken the lead, a senior out of Yankton. Of course, Ramsey Cavan was the 2004 champion from Yankton. Bees was in the champion last year, so this would be just it's amazing if the same squad could have the three individual champions. And of course, Yankton was 5th and 3rd in the competition the first 2 years as a team, and they'd love to get not just on the podium, but at the top step.
Right. Well, having 1 point off the bat helps that a lot.
But okay, Manlius 136 at 4K. Manlius, they've actually gone through.
Scoreboard now showing up. Manlius 136.
And now we got Ashley Higginson, a senior from Colts Neck, into the front. Ashley Higginson has now gone to the front. So in the last minute and a half, we've had 2 lead changes on the individual competition, as Manlius has got all 7 runners through before anyone has even got the 6th through.
And these 3 have separated themselves pretty significantly over 4th, 5th, and 6th.
And here's Carroll cross country. They got 5 through. They're in 2nd place. Yankton all the way up into 3rd. Newport now back into 4th. So Manlius cross country, they took the lead in that 2nd kilometer and have maintained. In fact, they're knocking it down to 136. They've been improving their lead pretty much every kilometer. In the 2nd kilometer, they had 147 points. Now they're down to 136. So it's not dramatic, but they're not going backward. They're continuously going forward. But it's not over. There's so much that can happen. We've seen it in the past. That final kilometer can make all the difference in the world.
Definitely. Keep in mind the Northeast once again showing very well here. Manlius in 1st currently in the standings. Colts Neck out of New Jersey in 5th.
Senior Ashley Higginson.
She's separated herself now. She's actually pulling away from Betsy Bees.
Yeah, and again, she's looking very strong.
Coming in Midlothian, they were top ranked in the country. The one question for Midlothian coming in, they were very tight as a pack, but they lacked that one front runner, which in a race like this, a low score really helps out your chances in a depth race.
South Lake Carroll moving up. As Kirsten Brown, number 218, a senior from Carroll Cross Country.
And here she comes down the home stretch.
2:30. Ashley Higginson.
19-19, and she fell across. Wow.
I mean, that's cross country for
There you go.
Betsy Pease in second. In 1919 was the winning time. Looked like Sawyer in third.
Two Manlius runners back there.
Yeah, two Manlius runners, and that's where they're making their money. And the two in the top 10 is just enormous. And now every place, it's just a war. And you can just see it on their faces. Two Manlius girls right
Three
there.
right together.
Three of them together. Boy, you talk about a spread, but this is like a prayer answered.
There's this little dip right before the finish, which is, that's the last thing you want to see at the last 25 meters.
272, Carolyn Schultz out of Hilton Cross Country. We just saw her coming across. Number 340, that was Christina Krasik, a senior from Westfield. They had such a very promising start to this competition. But it's hard. They're not going to give us the They're not going to give us the results at 5K like they did at the 4K and on. But right so far, it's Manlius and Carroll and Newport and Westfield. Those are the teams that had the
and once
top
again,
four spots.
Carroll, one of those few teams that's been here before, so it shows that experience coming through.
And a lot of returners at the same time as well. So you can have a team that comes back, but they don't have necessarily a lot of the same returners. And that's what makes Manlius pretty surprising, because they do have a lot of turnover.
Very much so, very much so. This is a new thing for them here at NTN on the girls' side. They've shown very well. We saw them up front very strong, and then we saw the image of the 3, 4, and 5 currently for them working very hard together also. So they have really come here and answered the challenge against the top teams from around the country.
Everyone trying to say something about that kick, but that big, deep water just before the start just sort of robs you of all the momentum you've got. And then you got to downshift and try to make it into that final gear one more time. And they know every step counts, every place counts. Whatever the jersey is in front of you, you're going after it. There's another Colts athlete coming across the line. The time, 21:35. But again, this has got nothing to do with how fast you're running. It's all about the position you finish.
Right. And once again, it's those 4 and 5 scores within each team that are
look
so
at that
valuable.
shot. The three Manlius girls just arm in arm. That's the beauty of cross country. The beauty of cross country. It's the sport. It's the aspect of the sport, Alan, we all start with. And it's the one that we sort of get away from as you guys become professionals. It's the greatest, I think it's personally, the greatest element of all running, better than roads or track. Cross country has got the spirit, and there's something about that team element which we lose.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There's always that dichotomy because it's an individual pursuit, but it's also a team dynamic. So sometimes when you're not having your best race, you still have the team to run for, which makes it just so much more special.
Well, what they're going to do is they're going to hold their water, in essence, and they're going to make sure that scores are all properly compiled, and then they will announce the top 4 teams, and then they will bring them up on stage, and then in reverse order, tell us who 4, 3, 2, and national champions are here at the 2006 Nike Team Nationals. And the camaraderie, the spirit, these are lifelong friends. The people you meet in high school and cross country are people that you go deep into the well with, you go to war with.
A lot of these kids are elite athletes that go out and compete individually at various high-level meets around the country in track. But when they talk back about their high school careers, for those who just graduated, they talk about the Nike Team Nationals, about sharing that experience with teammates.
There's the Yankton girls. You know, they've come so far. They've had an entire season of competition, a lot of ups and downs as well. And when they come here, they lay it all out on the line. Nothing left in the tank, and there's a number of these. Of course, the 2 top finishers in the California will be going to the Foot Locker Finals in San Diego.
Right, there is a race within a race here. The top 2 individuals from states that comprise the Foot Locker West region will advance also next weekend's Nationals in San Diego.
Right, because keep in mind that region is going on actually today for the individual race for the Foot Locker.
Right now, Ian Brooks is down on the infield in the chutes with our second place team. Ian, take it away.
Well, it's congested down here, but I have found the winner, Ashley Higginson from the Colts. Congratulations, Ashley. When did you take the lead?
I think I took it around where the starting line is, but for the last turn, like for the last loop, I guess like with 1,000 to go, I guess that is.
And was that the plan coming into the race?
No, not at all. We didn't know what to, We didn't know what to expect at all. I mean, like, you don't know what to expect until you get here. Like, I thought it was going to be, like, utter catastrophe. And then I'm like, hey, it's not so bad. But once you got into the mud, it was pretty bad. It hurt a lot, so.
Now, coming down the last stretch, 100 meters, what was going through your mind?
Well, ever since last year watching Betsy finish, like, I didn't know what was going through my mind, but I promised myself I wouldn't look back, but I knew she'd be there. I mean, she's an awesome runner and someone that, like, I think is pretty motivating. So, I mean, I knew she was right there, so I just tried to run as fast as I could.
And this was your first major win individually?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Penn Relays was pretty awesome too, but I mean, this is so much more important. Like, this is a team, and like the whole time, the only thing you're thinking about is what place our team's in and stuff. So, I mean, when it comes down to that, like, it's just easier to run good because it's not about you, it's about them, and it's kind of bittersweet. This is my last race with them, and this has been such a crazy year. So, but.
Do you think she's happy or what? Ashley Higginson, our individual champion.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. And you know, Rich, this is, again, here we have somebody who was not a favorite athlete. Here's a team that was not a favorite team. I think Colts were coming in as the 11th seed nationally in the final Super 25 poll, and yet that's why we raced.
Right, and actually they were a very controversial pick into this meet. Some people thought, in a sense, that another team was bypassed. Today they showed their worth. This was a meet where you put the top teams head-to-head to face off to settle who's number one, and Colts made a statement.
Well, that's why you can never just put it on paper and decide who's going to be the champion of the day, because some people rise to the occasion. And I know we're not finally sure what those smiles are about for Manlius, but we're pretty sure.
Right, definitely. Once again, they were a team that stepped up very well. They showed very well at Manhattan with the kid running lower levels also. And then they really came into their own in postseason. At the state meet, New York State meet showed very well. And at the Federation meet, people were really going to look and see how they would respond after that state meet win when you have squads like Saratoga Springs from the high school competition and you have Hilton, how they would respond. Manlius answered the call that day, and you saw today looked very strong up front individually, 2 in the top 10, and then we saw that teamwork a bit more into the pack.
All right, right now, let's go down to Ian Brooks one more time with our champions.
Well, what a glorious scene it is here. Absolutely magnificent. Fayetteville-Manlius, they're the winning team. Here they are. Are they happy? Jessica's going to be the spokesperson if she can remain sane. Jessica, again, coming into this, I don't think you were the favorites, maybe Yankton, Midlothian, but you've delivered on the day.
Our whole goal was to achieve excellence and do the best we can. We had no expectations. We love each other, and that's what got us through, is working together as a team and bringing all that we had to the front, just letting everything we had. And obviously it paid off, like the determination, the selflessness, the courage. All of us have that, and we love each other, and that's what got us through this.
Now, early on, we could see you were in a very strong position. Was that the plan?
Yeah, we decided to let it go at 2K, get there as strong as we could, and just use it as a progression race and get as far as we could and do the best we could from there. That was our plan, and it worked really well for all of us.
And when you were reunited just beyond the finish line, how great was that?
It was the greatest feeling in the world. We've worked so hard this whole year, and to be there with people you love and to share that is more than I think we could ask for.
Congratulations. Tony, it's a happy scene down here.
Imagine. Thank you, Ian. You know, 2 freshmen and a sophomore in the top 4 at the state championship. I mean, so it's not, this is a team they're going to have to handle for years to come. And this is always the sign of the chest painting at Nike Team Nationals, at cross-country races all over the nation. Part of the charm, part of the tradition. And Manlius, you know, for years known for their strong boys team. Of course, in 2004, they came in as the top team in the nation, undefeated, and they got nipped by the Elmhurst cross-country people, but now it's for the 3rd year in a row, actually. Saratoga Springs in 2004, Hilton cross-country in 2005, and now Manlius cross-country in 2006. The Northeast girls dominating NTN.
3 different schools in 3 different years, 3 different club teams. That's just an outstanding statement of the strength of that region. Phenomenal.
Well, you know, all year long. I mean, in fact, Manlius had to beat both Hilton and Saratoga in the Federation meet just to sort of get their ranking to come here.
There's no sweeter way to be champion than to beat the previous number ones.